Hey, what's up guys? Nate Burnham here. We're at Wire Road Studios in the Heights in Houston, Texas, and we're recording our live album today.
17, a little green, trying to figure out girls and life and what it all means, and what it means for me. Get away with whatever we can, watching time fly like we have it all, man, wasting the one thing we all need. Wish I would have been stronger, wish I could have been hers a little longer, struck out a little less, maybe gone back in town, try to give it my best. I know you can't change a thing, oh, but damn it, man, it kinda burns. Oh, but you live and learn.
Wire Road Studios is owned by a buddy of mine from high school. His name's James Kelly. And when I started playing music, 12, 13 years ago, a buddy of mine named Clay Cuvion, who I'd known since elementary school, was like, hey, he's running a studio out of his house. You should record some music with him. He'd heard some of the stuff that I'd been writing. And so I hadn't talked to James in a while, so we reached out to him, and he was still recording out of his house while they were building Wire Road Studios. We worked out a deal. It's like, hey, let's cut an album. Let's just start recording stuff. And that was 2010. We recorded a lot over 2 years, which culminated in us actually being one of the first projects here at Wire Road. As they were building the studio, we finished our project here.
What's up, guys? Nate. Heading into Wire Road Studios today. We're going to be finishing up the vocal tracks on all the songs. Still under construction here, but everything's coming together. We'll take you inside, let you have a little peek.
So it's not random that we showed up today to record. We brought back a lot of the same players from the original album that we recorded in 2012. And once I set it up with James, I didn't know any musicians, so I got on Craigslist, and there was a guy that was advertising for fiddle. So I reached out. His name was Jody Bartula. So through Jody, I met a bunch of the other musicians. He brought in Kenny Jackson Jr., he brought Alan Huff on the keys. Alan Huff's played for Roger Krieger and a bunch of guys. He's a longtime songwriter too. Kenny Jackson Jr. is a great guitar player. We had Walter Cross come in on drums. He played in Nashville for a long time, played for Pam Tillis, and I think he played with Darius Rucker for a little while. We brought in just different people. We had Bree Bagwell sing backup vocals on a few songs, and it was really early stages, and Jody Bartula at the time, he was playing with some guy named Cody Johnson. They were just starting out, and honestly, it was a learning experience for all of us because I was writing songs, they were playing music, and we weren't really good at recording music. And so we came in here and it wasn't pretty, but we got the job done. And the album's called Crash Course for a reason, because there's a song on there called Crash Course with Lonely. And then also this was a crash course in music and recording and working with a full band and all these other things that I had to experience for the first time. So 2022 rolls around and I realized, like, man, it's been 10 years since we did the Crash Course album. I thought it would be really cool if we could get the guys back in the studio and record some more tunes, just kind of as a 10-year reunion. And so called James up, got a hold of Jody, got a hold of Huff and Kenny, and they were all down. So Walt's back in. We brought Joey Pruski in on bass. He's Jody's buddy. He also plays for Cody Johnson in their band. And then we brought in Grace Partridge, who plays fiddle for me full-time at our shows. And she's 17 years old. She's young, but she's a national champion fiddle player. And so we assembled the squad back together with a few extra pieces, and just being back in the studio with these guys, like, it made us all so happy. Huff was like, man, I'm 61 years old, and just the fact that you guys gave me a call made me feel like I'm young again, and I love that music does that. And we're sitting here scratching our heads going, how's it been 10 years? It's gone by that quick, and so much has happened in 10 years, but we know like the next 10 years are gonna come just as fast. And so it's been real eye-opening. It's been fun to catch up with these guys. And it just makes me also want to work harder and make sure that I make the most of the next 10 years. Listening to the album Crash Course, you talk to Jody and Kenny, Walt, we all hear things that like, we wish we could go back and redo the whole album. But we took the opportunity this time around. We plucked a few songs from the old album to do again, and then we picked a few new songs that we're gonna throw out. And we decided to go ahead and do it live in studio all at the same time, just in one day. Whereas last time we took probably 2 years of just setting it up in parts. This time we're just gonna come in and knock it all out in one day. So we pulled Ain't Love Like Fishing off the Crash Course album. It was 5 minutes long, and I felt like I needed to kind of condense the song. And the second verse was about hunting. And I thought, you know what, it'd be better if we just made the whole song about fishing and made it, 3.5 minutes, so it was more listener friendly. And so we brought that one back in. We're gonna take a stab at it today.
You've been swimming around back in my mind. What I could have done different, it's so hard to find.
I mean, fishing is a lot like love and dating, where it's like sometimes you get something on the line and it's a struggle, it's a fight. Sometimes you'll break your line or you'll lose something, and there's that sense of loss or the sense of heartbreak or the almost. And I felt like there was a lot there to talk about and to sing about when I wrote Ain't Love Like Fishing.
Broke more than my life. Ain't love just like fishing? When you throw in a line, it seems you come up empty, time after time. You gotta throw tie up that loose end. Ain't love just like fishing?
Jody, do you like this picking thing, or do you want me to just go pick it? Yeah.
So When We Dance is another one off the Crash Course album. It's one I wrote for my wife. We fell in love on the dance floor. Our favorite dance hall to go to is Copeland Dance Hall. It's out east of Austin. And the whole song, I wrote it for her right after we had gotten married. And we didn't have babies or kids or anything yet, but I talk about those things where it's like, hey, life gets crazy and we get enveloped by all these things that set us back, or the busyness of life can just kind of swallow up your joy sometimes. I feel like you can get lost in the bustle, and the one thing for me and my wife is like, if we have a good song and a hardwood floor in a dance hall, then that's our happy place.
Romance, just like the first night when we took a chance. I love you forever, I love you more when we dance.
I love my wife, I love her forever, but I love her just a little bit more when we dance. Used to Know was on our list for Crash Course, and it was one of the songs that we were going to cut. And I ended up writing a song for my grandpa called You Draw the Lines. And when it came down to it, I had enough money for 13 songs with the musicians, and we ended up bumping Used to Know. It's like, all right, we'll put it on the next album. And then we put the song for my grandpa on Crash Course. And then in 2019, I went to College Station and recorded Nothing But Time, the album with Jody, and we had Used to Know on the list. And I had this much money for my album, and I went to Alaska and I wrote a song called Anchorage Away, and it was different. It's kind of this Irish pub sounding song. And so we ended up bumping Used to Know off of that album, and we put Anchorage Away on the Nothing But Time album. So it's been one of those songs where it's been on the bubble, and it's one that I've wanted to cut, and bringing the guys back into the studio and taking a stab at some new songs, it just gave us a chance to finally put that one out. So we're gonna cut Used to Know today.
Are we so lost now that we can't ever be found? Just tell me
Used to Know will be pretty easy to identify with for a lot of people, where it's like you're probably post-relationship and you're still in somebody's life, and sometimes it's hard to be around each other, and it's just like, you know, is it better if I'm not here? Is it better if I'm gone? If it hurts too much for me to be in your life, I'll just become some guy that you used to know. And you know, I think that's all too a reality for a lot of the relationships that we have in life. It's just, it's interesting how for a period of time in our life, you know somebody like the back of your hand. You know somebody so well, and then at some point they become somebody you just used to know. So I wanted to kind of encapsulate that into a song.
Were we wrong? Are we so lost now that we can never be found? Just tell me this. Are you happy now without me hanging around? And if it's so, how become a guy you used to know? Man, no.
Are you? Oh, so are you kind of answering him on that, like boom, boom, boom?
He's gone.
There ain't no back 40 party on a Friday night. Ain't
The Burbs I wrote as a joke. And I had this idea in my phone for a while, where I thought, you know, first of all, I grew up in the Burbs, right? It's not cool. Nobody cares. When you grow up in the Burbs, nobody thinks you had a hard life. The worst thing that happens to us is we have to go to community college or something. You know, there's nothing glamorous about the Burbs, but country music has been singing for so long about all the stuff that they love, four-wheel drive trucks and mudding and all this stuff. And growing up in the Burbs, it's like we had these double lives where we like to live that country life, but we also go to the clubs downtown, and nobody sings about it, right? So I thought, well, I should write a country song, but it's about the Burbs. It's about all the stuff that we love, you know, and all the stuff that we have. Two-wheel drive trucks, V6 Mustangs, Sonic, you know, all this stuff that nobody else would care about. And so that's where I got the idea for the Burbs. And we've been playing it live, again, as a joke, but people have been messaging me trying to find it online, like, hey, where's the Burbs? We can't find the Burbs. It's like, we're not recording that song. We're not putting it out. And, but so many people have told us that we need to record it, that it's on the docket for today. We're gonna record the Burbs.
We ain't from a trailer, ain't from a hood. Raised round where street lights meet the woods. Our cars burn rubber and our trucks have the curbs. That's how we do it in the Burbs.
It's fun when like you look around the studio and
I love it.
Like
I can't hear what you're saying, but I love all that. We're happy.
You're in there going like this. Joey's
just a
over
solo
there
section for Kenny, please.
grooving out on his bass. It was fun.
Another tank of gas, another highway sunset. Another town I haven't been to.
Without You is for my wife, another song that I've written for her. And before I did music, I was a traveling salesman. And so I spent a lot of time on the road. I spent most of our marriage on the road. And I've gone a lot of places without her, and I've experienced a lot of cool things without her. And there's always that feeling of like, this just would be so much better if she was here.
And all I can think about was you ain't here. And I heard the waves crashing, and I had the notion maybe the sweetest thing you did in a year. And I stopped to listen, but something